Billy Preston must have been in my mind because of recently. I went to a premiere screening in London when I was in London a few weeks ago of 100-minute presentation from Get Back, which was pretty startling because you were seeing it on a giant IMAX screen. And, and Paul was there, he announced it. So it was very thrilling, not least of all because I had a really kind of melancholy memory of going possibly to that same theatre because they've all been remodeled. It doesn't look the same, or one next door to it because there's a row of cinemas in Leicester Square, or used to be dance halls and cinemas, right in the centre of London. And the only time that I ever went to the pictures, as they say in England, with my father in my life, in his life, because he was a night worker, he was a singer, right? So he was always in the dance hall or touring. We only ever went to the cinema together once, and that was to see Let It Be in 1970 in Leicester Square.
Oh, wow.
And we both left the theatre very melancholy and depressed because he loved the Beatles too, even though he was from a different generation. He actually had a minor hit record with a cover of The Long and Winding Road, which was a hit in Australia. It was the first song that was credited to my great-grandmother's family name, Costello. He was Day Costello, and he recorded The Long and Winding Road because the Beatles version was not released as a single in England. It was in North America. Now, all these years later, I go and see that film, and definitely Billy Preston stands out among all the many lovely things about this film. When you talk about musicality and humility and subtlety, that's you're describing his contribution. I mean, he's a peerless musician. You can see footage of him playing as a guest of Nat Cole on television when he was a boy. There's footage of him playing with Ray Charles. So he was more than experienced of playing in support of people. Later on, he would play in the Bangladesh concert with George Harrison and just be incredible. He recorded for Apple, of course, because several of the collaborators and people that the Beatles liked, James Taylor made his first record for Apple. Jackie Lomax, who was a singer who had come out of the beat group Boom, made a record, Sour Milk Sea, which George Harrison wrote. And one of my favorite records that Apple made is That's the Way God Planned It. And it's really an unusual record because it so obviously comes from the roots of gospel music that Billy would know up and down, but it's actually played by a bunch of English guys. Mm-hmm. It's Ginger Baker on drums, it's Keith Richard on bass, it's George Harrison and Eric Clapton on guitar, but most of all, it's Billy Preston on organ and Billy Preston singing.